The prophet locked the sweat lodge door from the outside and smiled. He had no idea I was transmitting his voice to a federal tactical team positioned in the treeline. I'm 32, but I play the part of a broken corporate addict perfectly. When a girl named Chloe died of accidental heat stroke at the Ascension Institute and the local sheriff ruled it natural causes, the FBI needed a mole inside. I'd wear a subdermal microphone, pay the $50,000 entry fee, and document the cult's methods while a surveillance van monitored the frequency. My first night in the sanctuary, the leader, Elias, lined all 12 of us up in the dirt courtyard and walked past us like we were infected. You are pollution, he spat, his voice echoing off the canyon walls. You are rotting meat. You are whatever I decide you are, and right now I say you're toxic waste that hasn't earned the right to drink my water. He stopped in front of a trembling tech CEO who was going through withdrawal. Are you in pain? Initiate. The man nodded, sweat dripping off his nose. Elias grabbed him by the hair and forced his face into the dust. Good. The last initiate who complained about the pain ended up in the psych ward. He let go, and the man collapsed, coughing. Elias looked at the rest of us with dead, sharp eyes. And the one before that left in a pine box. But I'm sure you have more resolve. The first week was designed to shatter our minds. They woke us up at 4 a.m. with air horns and made us dig trenches in the desert heat until our hands bled. When someone slowed down, the guides sprayed them with high-pressure hoses until they fell. They drilled us on Elias's manifesto. And when we stuttered, they made us kneel on rock salt for an hour. They starved us for 3 days and then placed a single bowl of rice in the center of the circle. I watched millionaires scratch and claw at each other for a handful of grain while Elias filmed it, laughing softly. Look at your greed, he'd whisper. Disgusting. One initiate tried to hike out on day 4. Said he was calling his lawyer. Elias didn't yell. He just pulled out an iPad. You can leave. But I released the session tapes. The ones where you admitted to the fraud. The offshore accounts. Elias stepped closer. Walk out that gate, and I send this to the SEC before you reach the highway. The man stayed. I wanted to arrest him right there, but I needed the confession on Chloe. I needed him to admit it wasn't an accident. Then, Elias started focusing on me. You're too still, he said, cornering me near the water tanks. Everyone else is weeping, purging. You just watch. He gripped my shoulder, his fingers digging into the nerve. You know what happened to Chloe? She was stoic, too. Thought she could outlast the process. Elias smiled, a beatific, terrifying expression. We proved her wrong. The final night, they marched us to the Kiva, an underground chamber heated by volcanic stones. Pitch black, suffocating. Elias announced the final ritual was the molting. They bound our hands and said we would remain in the heat until our old selves died. One by one, they shoved initiates into the darkness. I heard one woman screaming for air. I heard a man banging on the walls until his knuckles broke. Then it was my turn. Elias blocked the doorway, heat blasting out like a furnace. Something about your arrogance makes me want to turn the temperature up, he whispered. He shoved me inside and held the door shut. The air was unbreathable. My vision swam. How long? I gasped. That's up to you, he said through the vents. Chloe lasted 18 minutes. You want to know a secret? He leaned close to the grate. She stopped screaming after 10. I kept the door locked for another 20, just to see if her soul would finally detach. He laughed. Let's see if you detach faster. My team was authorized to breach on a confirmed kill confession. I heard the shatter of glass and the roar of a helicopter. The door was ripped off its hinges. Cool night air flooded the chamber. I scrambled out, coughing, to see laser sights painting Elias's chest. Agents were swarming the compound, zip-tying the guides. Elias was on his knees, screaming about religious persecution. I walked over, wiping the soot from my face, and pulled out my badge. I'm with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And you just admitted to premeditated murder on a federal wire. Elias went pale. It was a metaphor. Spiritual detachment. You said you locked the door for 20 minutes after she went silent, I said, my voice hoarse. That's not a metaphor. That's a confession. I leaned down. I'm the pollution that's putting you on death row. Elias is serving 2 consecutive life sentences. 14 victims came forward after the raid. The Ascension Institute was bulldozed, and the families are suing the estate for everything he hid.